Assalamu Alaikum WRB. Welcome to the Learning Quran. So we studied the translation of Surah Baqarah and we are on the ayat number 11. So let's start from the 11. Ayat 11. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذا قيل لهم لا تفسدوا في الأرض قالوا إنما نحن مصلحون. And when it is said to them, do not spread disorder on the earth, they say, we are nothing but the reformers. The fourth and the fifth verses expose the history of the hypocrites. Their activities tended to produce a general chores. Just give me a second, Maya. Their activities threatened to produce a general chores and a disorder, and yet in their mealy mouthed way, they pretended to be men of the good and will be serving the cause of the peace and order. The Holy Quran makes it clear that the order claims alone do not decide the question whether one is working for the order or the disorder. For what thief would call himself a thief? It depends on what one does, not on the one says. If a man's activities do result in a mischief, he will be called a mischief maker, even if he had no such intention. Who are reformers and mischief makers? As these verses report, when the hypocrites were asked not to spread disorder in the land through their prevarication and double dealing, they used to reply emphatically, Innama nahnu muslihun, we are not but the reformers. The word innama, nothing but, used in the Arabic text indicates not merely emphasis but exclusivity. So their reply would mean that they were nothing but the reformers, the servant of the order, and that their activities could have nothing to do with the disorder. Commenting on the reply, the Holy Quran says, Ala innahum humul mufsiduna walakin la yash'urun, beware. It is in fact they who spread the disorder, but they are not aware. Now we learn the two things from this command. Firstly, the activities of the hypocrites did actually produce a disorder in the land. Secondly, they did not indulge in these activities with the express intention or design of creating the disorder. They were not even aware of the possibility that their action could be the cause of the disorder. For among the things which spread disorder in the world, there are some which are commonly recognized to be mischievous and disorderly activities, and hence every sensible and conscious man refrains from them. For example, theft, robbery, murder, rape, etc. On the other hand, there are some which is in their external aspect do not appear to the mischief or disorder but working unseen. They have the necessary consequence of destroying the morals of men, which in its turn opens the door to all kind of the disorder. This is exactly what the hypocrites were doing. No doubt they refrained from the theft, robbery, etc. It was on the account that they denied their being a mischievous and emphatically asserted that they were serving the cause of order. But all this while they had been freely giving the vent to their malice and envy by conspiring with the enemies of the Muslims. These are things which finally bring man down to the level of the beasts. One, he has lost his awareness of ethical values and human decency. Even an average man becomes an agent of the social disorder much greater than the released by the thieves or the robbers, or even the beasts are capable of producing. For the mischief of robbers and the beasts can be controlled by the physical power of law and the government, but the law is made and enforced by the man. What happens to law when the man has ceased to be man can easily be witnessed all around us in the world of the today. Everyone takes it for granted that the humanity is on the march and the modern man is so far the ultimate in the civilization. The network of the educational institutions covers every hamlet on the face of the earth. Legislative bodies keep buzzing night and days. Organizations for the promulgation of the law spends billions, and circumlocutions offices proliferate. And yet the crime and the disorder keep in the step with the march of the civilization. The reason is simple. Law is not an automatic machine. It requires men to make it work. If a man ceases to be man, neither the laws nor can bureaucratic agencies provide a remedy for all preventing disorder. It is for this that the greatest benefactor of the mankind, the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, concentrated all his attention on making the man real man in all the plenitude of the term. Once this had been achieved, crime or disorder comes to an end of itself without the help of enormous police forces and the extensive system of law court. As long as the people acted upon his teaching in certain part of the world, man saw a kind of peace and order prevail, the like of which he had been witnessed before, nor is likely to be witnessed when these teachings are abandoned or disregarded. In so far as actual practice is concerned, the essence of the teaching of the Holy Prophet is fear of Allah and the solicitude for the assessment of one's deeds on the day of judgment. If these are absent, no constitutions or the legal code nor administrative body or the university can force or induce man to keep away from the crime. Those who run the world in our day invent ever new administrative measures to prevent crime, but do not only neglect the very soul of the administration, the fear of Allah, but even deploy the means of destroying it, all of which has a necessary consequences that the remedy only helps to feed the malady. The another aspect of the question, it is easy enough to find a cure for thieves and the robbers and for all those who create the disorder openly, but the miscreants who have been described in these verses always appear to the gab of the reformers, brandishing colorful schemes of social amelioration which are only a mask for the personal interest and for raising the slogan Innama nahnu muslihun, we are nothing but the reformers. Hence it is that Allah, while asking men not to spread the disorder on the earth, has also said in another place that Allah knows the one who makes mischief distinct from him who promotes good. This is an indication that Allah alone knows the state of man's heart and their intentions, and He alone knows the nature and the consequences of each human deed, as to whether it would help the cause of the order or of the disorder. So to serve the cause of the order, it is not sufficient merely to possess such an intention. Much more essential than that is to orient oneself in thought and deed in the harmony with the Sharia, for an action may, in spite of the best intentions, sometimes result in mischief and disorder if it is not guided by the Sharia. Ayat number 12. Allah, beware, innahum, indeed they, whom themselves al-mufsiduna, are the one who spread corruption, walakin, and but la yash'urun, not they realized it. Be aware, it is in fact they who spread the disorder, but they are not aware. وَإِذَا and when قِيلَ, it is said, lahum, to them, aminu, believe, kama, as amanan nasu, believe the people. Qalu, they say, anu'minu, should we believe, kama, as amana, believed, as-sufaha, the fools. Allah, beware, innahum, certainly they, humus sufaha, themselves the fools, walakin, and but, la ya'lamun, they know. And when it is said to them, believe as the people are, and when it is said to them, believe as the people have believed, they say, shall we believe as the fools believe? Beware, it is in fact they are who are the fools, but they do not know. The verse also places before the hypocrites a criterion of true faith, iman, kama amanan nasu, believe as the people have believed. According to the consensus of the commentator, the Arabic word nasu, people, in the words refer to the blessed companion of the Holy Prophet, ﷺ, because it is just these people who had embraced the faith and had accepted the Holy Quran as the word of Allah while it was being revealed. So the verse indicates that the only kind of the iman, faith, acceptable to Allah in that which one should be similar to the of the blessed companions. So this is the very important point. The kind of the iman accepted to Allah is that the one who should be similar to the blessed companion, and that the iman of the other would be worthy of the name only when they believe in the same things in the same way as the companions did. In other words, the iman of the companions in a touchstone for testing the iman of all the other Muslims. Any belief or deed which departs from their faith and practice, however pleasing in its looks or good in its attention, is not a valid according to the Sharia. There is a consensus of the commentators on this position. One should also notice that the hypocrites used to call the blessed companions fools, suhafa, fools. This has always been the way of those who go astray. Anyone who tries to show them the right path is in their eyes ignorant and stupid. But who could the Holy Quran points out the more stupid than the man who refuses to see the clear signs? In the 7th verse, we see that the double-facedness and the trickery of the hypocrites. In the company of the Muslims, they would vociferously declare their faith in Islam, but going back to their own people would reassure them that they had never left the way of their ancestors and had been meeting the Muslims only to make fun of them. Injections and related considerations. Number 1, it has sometimes been debated as to whether to distinction between the kufr, infidelity or the disbelief, and nifaq, hypocrisy, still holds good even after the days of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. The correct position with regard to this question in this: at that time there were 2 ways of identifying a hypocrite and declaring him to be one. Either Allah himself informed the Holy Prophet ﷺ through revelation that such and such a man was not a Muslim at heart but a hypocrite, or a man through some word or deeds overtly repugnant to the Islamic creed or practice showed himself up as a hypocrite, thus providing a clear evidence against himself. Divine revelation having ceased with the departure of the Holy Prophet ﷺ from this world. The first way of identifying a hypocrite is no longer available, but the second way is still valid. That is to say, if a man is found on a certain evidence to be guilty in word or deed of rejection or opposing or distorting or holding in scorn the basic doctrine of Islam, undeniably established by the Holy Quran, the Hadith, and the Ijma consensus, he would be regarded as munafiq, hypocrite, in spite of his claim to be a true Muslim. The Holy Quran leaves such a hypocrites the name of the mulhid, a heretic, those who distort our verses, and the Hadith call them the zindiq, maken. One must also add, since the kufr, infidelity of such a man has been proved by clear and definite evidence, the Sharia will not put him in the separate category, but deals with him as it would deal with any other kafir, infidel. That is why the authentic scholars and the unanimous in concluding that after the departure of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, the question of the hypocrites ceased to be relevant one. No, anyone who is not a genuine Muslim will be regarded as a kafir. The famous author Al-Aini, in his commentary of the Al-Bukhari, reports that Al-Bukhari is the name of the book. Reports from the Abul Malik that after the days of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, this is only available means of identify the hypocrisy, and that a man who carries this mark could be called the hypocrites. وَإِذَا and one لَقُوا they meet الَّذِينَ those who آمَنُوا believed قَالُوا they say آمَنَّا we believe وَإِذَا and one خَلَوْا they are alone إِلَى بِيت شَيَاطِينِهِمْ their evil ones قَالُوا they say إِنَّا indeed we مَعَكُمْ are with you إِنَّمَا only نَحْنُ we مُسْتَهْزِئُونَ are mockers. And when they meet those who believe, they say we have the entered faith. But when they are alone with their shaitans, they say indeed we are with you. We were only mocking. As we have seen, the Surahalbaqarah opens with the declaration of the Holy Quran is beyond all the doubts. The first 20 verses of the surah delineate the features of those who believe in the Holy Quran and those who do not. The first 5 dealing with the former under the title of the Al-Muttaqun, the God-fearing. The next 2 with those disbelievers who were quite open and violent in their hostility. That is the Al-Kafirun and the disbelievers or the infidels, and the following 13 with those crafty disbelievers who claim to be Muslim but in reality were not so. This second variety of the disbelievers had received from the Holy Quran the name of the Al-Mutnafiqun, the hypocrites. Of these 13 verses, the first 2 define the characteristics behavior of their hypocrites thus. And among men there are some who say we believe in Allah and in the last day, yet they are no believers. They try to deceive Allah and those who believe when they are deceiving none but their own selves, and they are not aware. These verses expose their claim to be Muslims as false and deceitful, and show that they are only trying to be clever. Obviously, no one can deceive Allah. Probably they themselves could not have such a delusion. But the Holy Quran equates in a way their attempt to deceive the Holy Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims with the desire to be deceived Allah Himself. See Qurtubi. Such a desire, the Holy Quran points out that can have only the one consequences, that they end up by deceiving no one but themselves, for Allah Himself cannot possibly be deceived, and the divine revelation protects the Holy Prophet ﷺ from alarm, trickery and deceit, so that the hypocrites themselves will have to be bear in the other world as well as in this the punishment for their presumptuousness. As the Allah making them grow in their malady, it means that they are jealous of the growing the strength of the Muslims, but it is Allah's will to make the position of the Muslims even stronger, as they can see themselves, which feed their bile and keeps the disease of their hearts growing. The 2 verses such describe the state of their insensitivity and ignorance. They regard their defects as merits. The 6th verse shows the other aspect of the depravity. The merits of the other, that is the unalloyed faith of the Muslims, changes into the defect and even becomes a contemptible in their eyes. As for the hypocrites declaring openly that they were not prepared to believe as the other did believe, and as for their dubbing the Muslims as fool, it is obvious that they could have been outspoken only before the poor among the Muslims. Otherwise, they used to very careful about the keeping their disbelief the concealed. A title reflection of these verses would be revealed that the true nature of the Islam and the Iman faith, and also that of the Kufr disbelief. For the Holy Quran reports the claim of the hypocrites to be Muslim. Amanna billahi, we believe in Allah. Forthwith refutes this claim, mahum bi mu'minin, yet they are no believers. In order to understand fully the implication of these words, one should bear in one's mind that the fact that hypocrites in the question were actually Jews. Now believe in Allah and in hereafter is no doubt an essential part of their creed as well. What was not included in their creed as defined by their religious scholars was a belief in the prophethood of the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In declaring the faith in Islam, the Jews very cleverly used to leave out the belief in the Holy Prophet ﷺ and mention only the two elements: believe in Allah and believe in hereafter. So far as such the declaration goes, they cannot be called liars, and yet the Holy Quran refused their claim to be Muslims and regards them as liars. Why? In fact, is that for one to be a Muslim, it is not sufficient merely to be declared one's faith in Allah and the hereafter in any form of the manner which suits one's individual or the collective fancy. As for that, associators of all kinds do in one way or another believe in Allah and consider Him to be omnipotent, but the Holy Quran doesn't allow any of things to pass for the Iman or faith in Allah must, in order to valid and worthy of the name, conform to what the Holy Quran specifically lays down with regard to the divine names and attributes. Similarly, belief in the thereafter can be valid only when it is true the specifications of the Holy Quran and the Hadith. Even the people described by the Westerns and the savages and the primitives, though degenerates would be far closer to Mark, have at least a vague notion of the supreme deity and usually very vivid ideas about the other world. There is no end on the making of the books and no end of the making of gods and to naming of gods, above all in our own days, reason, nature, man, life, all having served their turn and grown rusty, all being replaced by more fancy names, the grounding of beings of the so-called Christian existentialism, the ultimate archetype of the collective unconscious. The Jogian psychology and what not, they have lately invented the godless theology too. In the light of this expression, one can see that the Jews who pretended to be Muslims believed neither in Allah nor in the hereafter according to these definite requirements. For on the one hand, they regarded the Prophet Uzair as the son of the God, Nauz Billah, or Isa actually. On the other cherished the fond belief that the progeny of the Prophet, no matter how it acted, would always remain the chosen of the God and would not be called account on the day of the judgment, and at the worst receive only the token punishment, these being their belief. The Holy Quran rightly rejects their claims to faith in Allah and hereafter. As we already said, the verse 13 defines the Iman. Really, Iman, faith, really is Aminu Kama Amanan Nasu, believe as other men have believed. In the other words, the criterion for the judging one's claim to of Iman is the Iman of the blessed companion. Happened? Okay. And claim to the Iman which doesn't conform to it is not acceptable to Allah and the Holy Prophet ﷺ. If a man has to presumption to interrupt an Islamic doctrine or the words of the Holy Quran in way with the departs from the explicit and the clear explanation provided by the Holy Quran itself, by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, his individual opinion and the belief, no matter how much it is titillates or the palate of his contemporaries or the feeds their fancy, will have no value the validity in the eyes of the Sharia. For example, the Qadianis claims that like the Muslims, they too believe in the doctrine of the finality of the Prophet of the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but in this respect they deviate from what the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has himself stated and what the companions believed in the distort the decline, so as to make the room for the Prophet of the Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of the Qadiani. So according to the indication of the Quran, they came under the indictment they are not believers, as it all too common these days, who style themselves the Ahmadis. So these are also the non-Muslims. I think so we should stop here today. Okay, so I think so we should resume here. Inshallah, we will resume this video in the next video. Till then, take care. Allah Hafiz.